Why does your pocket suck? I think there's a few answers to this question. I get this question quite a bit. Why does my pocket suck? What can I do? Well, new guitar players, inexperienced guitar players, or just guitar players who have been kind of moving in a particular direction for a really long time and haven't really stepped outside of themselves and looked at what they're doing objectively. I think one of the major problems is that we're listening to something inside and trying to get it out that doesn't necessarily correlate with what we're playing along with, okay? To flesh that out, I think guitar players tend to try to recreate licks that they like, that they learned from different places or whatever, and they're so focused on how they hear that happening in their mind that they're not paying attention to the kick pattern or the hi-hat or what the actual rhythm bar to bar is that's happening, that they're playing along with. So what I have here for you all is a backing track. I'm going to give you stems. I'm going to give you a 4-minute loop of it. And my hope is that you can use this to just kind of sink into the groove. And I've talked about pocket before. I've talked about playing behind the beat and just being relaxed. I think if you want, go review those videos. I'll have a link to the behind the beat video that I'm talking about. I'm also working on another course that's going to address this a little bit more in depth, but the idea here is let's get all of the licks and stuff out of our minds and just try to play the chords and just sink into this chord progression. This is like a 12-bar blues in D. It's ultra simple. I don't even do anything complicated for the turnaround. It's literally D, G, and A. Okay, so here it is. There's a bass track that I got going here. I might turn the bass track up just a hair. And this cool drum loop. And there are patterns within it. And I'm just going to comp some simple voicings of these chords. So we're kind of starting on D7. You got a 3-note voicing there. You could just play a 2-note voicing, right? Just the tritone. That's kind of what makes a D7 a D7. Then you go to the 4 chord. That's your G7. Those are all G7s. There's G7. All G7s. Just little pieces of it, right? We don't have to strum full-on 6-string chords. And then, so if this is D7, and this is G7, there's our 5 chord, our A7. There's an A7. That one's kind of weird, right? Putting the flat 7 in the bass. Sounds like it wants to move to a D chord with the F sharp in the bass, right? Oh, there's now D7, which wants to pull to a G chord. So that's a cool way to get from A to G. Basically, you make any chord a dominant 7, and it's going to want to pull to its 1. It's going to pretend it's a 5 chord now, and it's going to pull to its 1. So whatever the 1 is of that 5, you can take it there, you know? A7 pulls nicely to D. G7 pulls nicely to C. D7 pulls nicely to G. right? All of these chords that I'm playing after the dominant 7th feel like home, you know? That's this whole thing for me, is I have basically a semester of music theory and my ears. That's how I learned how to play. And I'm digressing. Let's play this loop. Let's play this this jam track. I'm just gonna comp, okay? And maybe I'll record this and loop it, and it'll be part of what you can start playing over. You can try to match some of the rhythm stuff that I'm doing. I'm not going to be strumming as much as I'm going to be plucking. There's a really nice pocket to this drum track, and my instinct is to play a little more muted and percussive and like really in the background, adding to the rhythm but not taking up a bunch of harmonic space, so that whoever's soloing, whether that's another guitar, B3, piano, saxophone, whatever, they've got room. I'm not hogging their notes. So why don't I go ahead and record this? Let's see what happens. Here we go. So that's a pretty cool loop, and it's just so simple. It's 3 chords. I'm playing basically dominant 7th chords. What I'm thinking of, whether I'm soloing or playing or comping, you know, I'm thinking chords. I am never ever visualizing the whole like I mean, maybe every once in a while, but that stuff, just staying in those boxes needs to be so sparing, because it's just been overdone. It's just been wildly overdone. And I know, me personally, I kind of check out. It's easy to check out of your own playing when you notice you fell into that. You're like, oh, now I'm boring myself. It's all chords. Everything's chords for me, you know? So when I'm playing, I'm just thinking of the... You hear that hi-hat thing? Catch that. Catch that in your comping. Get familiar with this enough to lay your own rhythm track and then try playing like a little solo over it. But really, I'm staying kind of in this space for D7, and then G, sometimes I would just let a note hang. Let the bass do all the movement, you know? Pretty cool. And then for A7, I'm kind of in this one area, but I could go, right? This is a 7th chord. It's that version of D7. Well, if you know the fretboard, if that's D7, that's E7, F, G, A, C7, you know? Now I'll undo that, and I'll just play a simple kind of a solo, just more, I'll play more melodic. But again, I'm still thinking chords. I'm still seeing chord shapes, not scale patterns, not boxes. I'm not thinking Mixolydian mode. Anytime I think of a scale or a mode, that encourages me to play sequentially. And if I start hearing things like, and it's not some amazing classical piece, I just check out immediately. So here's me just sort of playing melodically over this loop. And again, I'm super relaxed. I'm listening to what's happening and responding to it. I'm not formulating a lick or something that I've muscle memoried in my mind and trying to figure out how to put that into this. That, I think, is the hang up for a lot of people. Here we go. So, in all of that, I'm just playing and thinking chord tones and kind of connecting them, right? And these are all dominant seventh chords, so it's kind of cool to lean into the flat seven a little bit. The bass is doing it. It's kind of cool to lean into the major third and just not play minor blues licks all over the place. The one time where I almost think more of a minor thing is when I'm playing the G chord, because G7 has an F natural. F natural is the minor third of D, so a minor third D lick works over the G chord, right? In fact, you could just switch playing D major or D7 to D minor 7. And if you add the natural 6 of D minor, well, that's your B, that's your third of the G chord. Again, I'm just thinking chords, but sometimes on some of those like bluesy runs, you can just think, hey, we're on the 4 chord. A minor thing could work. One more option. I'll do some of that kind of stuff. So basically, every time we went to a G chord, I was thinking D minor. Not necessarily the scale, but the triad. And yes, there are some idiomatic phrases that I will throw in here and there. But man, if that's the whole thing, like, I don't know, that's been done. That needs to be the seasoning, not the entree. That needs to be like the seasoning on the entree. So anyway, there's going to be a link in the description. Download this backing track and just sink into the pattern. Think more of like getting inside of what you're hearing rather than trying to, like I said, modify some lick in your head that you heard in some other way that you're going to get out here, because that tends to take your focus off of what you're playing to, you know. And what's cool is different inflections, different ways of enunciating. Like some of these things, like I'm playing, I'll play a loud phrase. Like lean into dynamics, you know? Mellow out the ends of some phrases. Make things hard to hear. Just subtly, you know, like at the very end. Kind of pulls people in, right? That's the whole thing. So the whole thing is you're telling a story, and you're telling a story over chords. So play melodically over those chords and inside the pocket of what this groove is. I want to hear what you do with this. If you think about it, send me something that you came up with over this. I'll see y'all later.